So I'm going to go through what's on the quiz, going through what we did last few days ago. So this is something that we've been dealing with here, this fractional power stuff. And we can solve some of these by hand, but some of these we can't. So today I'm just going to reinforce how to put this in the calculator. So we have 15, and then we're going to hit the power button, and it'll be 3 divided 2. And that's all we're going to do. And it sounds like, oh, that's a really easy question. Well, you'll be surprised how many students forget it. So let's go back here so you can see my calculator here. So there I typed in the 15. I'm going to hit the power button, and then we're going to do 3. Oh, we're going to go back. We've got to do parentheses. Don't forget your parentheses. 3 divide 2, close parentheses. And once it looks like that, we're going to hit enter. We're going to get our answer of 58.09. So 58.09. Here we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put in the calculator. There's a 2 there, and you're like, what does that mean anyways? Just remember we can turn it into fraction form. So this 2 is the denominator there, and then we can do our power like so in our calculator. So we have to know how to do both. We can't just not know how to do one of those. We need to know how to do both. So we have 125, power button, parenthesis, 3 divide 2, close parenthesis, enter, and we have 1,397.54. Okay, and that's it. There we go. So, number 2, we're going to be given this, and we want to prove that it's that. So we're going to explain or show how to do it. So I'm just going to show. But we can use words if we'd like. So we have 2 over 15. And then this is times 15 over 1t. Okay. Now when I do that, those are going to cancel. So I'm left with the square root of 12.08 of 2t. Well, roots, a square root, and a square are opposites. So those are going to cancel. So I'm left with 12.08t. So I just showed you how to do that. And again, the big picture idea is you know how to deal with these powers when they're fractions or not. You know how to deal with what a root is, whether it's a power or a root. And that's just kind of reinforcing that question. So here we're going to simplify here. When we're multiplying fractions, we just add the powers. So it's just 1/4 plus 1/7. The issue is 1/4 plus 1/7 is kind of a hard one to do because we have to find common denominators. So we end up timesing each one to get 28. So we're going to get 7 over 28 and 4 over 28. So when I solve that, we're going to get 11. So this is going to be x to 11 over 28. And then on the next one, we're going to subtract them instead. So we have 3/5 minus 1/4. Again, when we subtract these, we have to have common denominators. So we need to multiply. We end up multiplying all the way up to 20 on these, just because of how different these denominators are. So we get 12 over 20 minus 5 over 20. And that gives me m, so 12 minus 5 is 7 over 20. So we're going to simplify these. Again, we have a root with powers, so we're going to make those roots the denominators. Okay, so after I do that, we can actually just divide these out and get an answer. On the other one, it's a little tricky. Okay, so I kind of skipped a step here, and we can do the same step here in a sec. But I'm going to do the 4th root of 81. We're going to look at that one separately. And then the x's we're going to put over 4 like that, and then 5 over 4, and then z is 10 over 4. So we're going to do the same thing. Just the number I'm going to take out, and I'm going to see if this works out. So the 4th root 81, so that means 4 numbers. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, that's 4, 8, 16, so no, that doesn't work. So 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. Oh, it's 81, so this turns into 3. Okay, good. And then 12 divided 4 is x to the third. And then y to the 5/4. Okay, so it's a little tricky. So 5/4 is 1 and 1/4. Okay, that is it. So I'm going to put y's on there and do the next one. So 10/4 is z squared with 2/4. So 2/4. So z to the 2/4. Okay. So again, I'm just taking this number and breaking it up. So 10/4 is 4 over 4, 4 over 4, and then 2 over 4, right, to get that 10. And then these are wholes, and we're left with that. So that's how I'm doing that. Then we're going to put all the wholes together. So these are all going to go together. Okay, and then the stuff that still has these fractions on them, we're going to put it back in that same root it used to have. So it used to have a 4th root, and it's a y1 z2. So we use that power that they had. And then this is the answer right here. So again, that's the A-level question. This is kind of the B-level question right there, just because that is kind of the standard, knowing how to use those, but not knowing it in the more complicated sense. Okay, let's go to the next one. It's actually a little faster now. So we're going to do adding and subtracting. So f of x is that. So we have negative 3x to the 1/8, and then we're going to add g of x. I don't want to use yellow. Let's use blue. And g of x is 1/8 root of x minus 7. So just again, back to reinforce what roots are. Roots are just fractional powers. So I'm going to erase this and write it as 1/8. So again, you're going to have something like that on the test where you're going to have to realize that roots are fractional powers. Now that we've done that, we have like terms. We have negative 2x to the 1/8, and the minus 7 comes down. Then we're going to do the same thing but subtract. So we have the same stuff that we just had. So I'm just basically copying what I just did. Sorry, I'm making the fractions look nice. So that's what I just did, but there's a minus sign now, so we have to distribute this. So we're going to get minus 1/8 minus 7. And then we end up getting like terms again. So we get negative 4x to the 1/8. And then we have to distribute this, so this becomes a plus. So we get plus 7. Okay. So make sure you understand that when you distribute, I almost made a mistake there because I left it as a minus. When you distribute it, it does change signs, and that's our other answer. So we're going to do function composition. So this is f, this is f. I'm going to write that f out, 2x plus 1. Okay, done. This is g of x, this is g of x. So I'm going to erase x, and I'm going to write g of x. Negative 13x squared. I'm going to times, and then we have the answer. Okay, so this is having us put the blue equation inside the green one, just like I did. We're going to write the inverse and state the domain of range. So just remember that inverses work backwards, so we're going to flip x and y, so it's backwards. A little weird to say it like that, but we're just going to flip x and y to make inverses. So 2y plus 5. And that'll make our inverse, because inverses go backwards, so we're switching x and y around to go backwards. Just remember, a root 7 and a power 7 are opposite, so that's how we're going to cancel those. And then we're going to subtract the 5, so we get x to the 7th minus 5 equals 2y, and we're going to divide off the 2. So the inverse is x to the 7th minus 5 all over 2. And that is the inverse. The domain of range is very similar to what we taught. Again, we'll hit more on this later. This is an odd root, which means we can do all real numbers. Okay, if it was even, it would be like the other example in our notes, which we talked about. So you can go check your notes on that. The range here is all real numbers as well, and I'm going to use the R symbol for that. So just like we talked about in our notes. So that's what I'm looking at for an A. If it was an even function, then it'd be different. It would be, the domain would be different. And if you have questions about that, let me know. So we're going to verify that these are inverses of each other, and that means we're going to do function composition. So we're going to do this one in black, and then we're going to do this one in green. So notice we switch the x's and g's around. And if they're inverses, everything cancels. So we're going to start with f. So here's f, x to the 6th minus 17. So we started with f. Now we're going to put g in. So I'm going to erase the x, and we're going to put g right there. In parentheses. Notice the powers and everything stay. That's going to cancel those. So I'm left with x plus 17 minus 17. Those are going to cancel, and we have ourselves an inverse because everything canceled. So we're going to do the same thing with g of f of x. So here is g. Right there. That's g, okay? Next we're going to put f of x in. So I'm going to erase that. And we're going to put x to the 6th minus 17. Those are going to cancel. So we're going to get 6th root of x to the 6th. Those are going to cancel. And I got my inverse. Okay, because both of them checked. So when I'm looking to grade this, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see if you can put function composition together, so function composition, and then cancel stuff. And that's what I'm looking for that A grade. No, this is a B. This is a B. So B is a little tricky this time around. All in all, that's what I'm looking for on your quiz. It took me 12 minutes to get through this while going slow and helping you. So I'm guessing it'll take the average student about 44 minutes to get through this. But you can do it. And if you need more help, always ask. Again, the grade is yours to earn anything you want. It's not hidden anymore. In math, sometimes it's hard because in previous years in math, if you don't know how to do it, you just don't know how to do it. But that's not the case anymore. So if you need something, let me know.